Hi everyone, welcome to part 3 of the Checkmate series, and here is there's gonna be 6 more examples. The first one is called in the book Mates number 9 for some reason. It's just basically a checkmate where a bishop protects a rook in the corner and then there's like a pawn on f7 blocking the king off, and this is a famous example of it. Joseph Henry Blackburn versus Schwartz, and the game is in exchange French. We'll just whiz through the opening because this isn't very interesting. However, now comes bishop takes g3. The point being is if the bishop is taken, then we get a draw by perpetual, and a draw as black against Blackburn is a very good achievement. It was. So Blackburn sacks a pawn and refuses, which is quite risky because not only has he got the inferior pawn structure, his king's a bit open, but he does have the open h line and some attacking chances. And then he doubles up on the h line and forces black passive. And now there's all these weak dark squares and all white's pieces are pointed at black's king. Black has 2 moves to stay in the game here. Bishop e7 I think actually forces a draw by repetition, and bishop f8 is a winning attempt to try and convert an extra pawn, but I think forcing a draw with bishop e7 is best. And you just go backwards and forwards. The point being is that black needs to challenge the f6 bishop, otherwise queen h6 is killing on the spot. However, he tries knight f4 check, and now Blackburn plays a great move. If you want to try and spot it, please stop the video now. Just takes it, and after bishop takes f4, rook takes h5, g takes h5, and rook takes h5. And now he's sacrificed his queen and his rook, and there is no way to stop mate on h8. And this is the most famous example of this checkmate with a bishop on a long diagonal and like a rook teaming up on h8. And this is one of Blackburn's finest games. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and on to the next one. This is an example of what was the mate called again? This is Anderson's mate. This is a miniature game. E4, E6, and we have these standard moves. And now, amazingly enough, if black castle's in this position, it automatically loses, and that's what happens. Because now comes a brilliant combination. And if you want to try and spot it, please stop the video now. Knight f6 check. Now there's 2 pieces aimed at h7, so the knight has to be taken. And after bishop takes f6, now you can see what's coming now. In fact, it's basically the same, except the queen's going to give mate instead, and it's going to be a bishop sack. So after, say, queen d7, the idea is if queen g4 check, then knight g6. We now just have simply bishop takes h7 check, king takes, check, and mate. I hope you enjoyed that example, and on to the next one. Now this is an example of Pillsbury's mate, and this is a game played by Pillsbury himself as white, and he opened with d4, after which comes the Queen's Gambit declined, orthodox defence, and now this b6, which when black hasn't castled turns out to be a mistake, and after c takes, pawn takes, bishop b5, white takes advantage of the weakness on c6 very beautifully, bishop b7, knight e5. Also aiming to set up the Pillsbury formation, which is like a knight in e5, pawn on f4. Then you can like swing a rook across the king side. Castles, bishop c6, rook b8, and now after a series of moves, black loses a pawn. Knight takes d5, taking advantage of the pin. However, he tries to regain the pawn with queen e4, attacking the pawn on g2 and the knight on d5. And after knight takes f6, pawn takes bishop h6. Now he blunders with queen takes g2. The pawn was immune, however the move to spot is tough, but if you want to try and spot it, please stop the video now. This is based on Pillsbury's mate, which is mate with a rook and bishop. The move is queen f3, which puts the queen on pre but attacks black's rook, black's queen, and defends white's rook. And if black resigned in this position because well, first of all, if he takes white's queen, then we have check, and mate, which is Pillsbury's mate. However, if he doesn't take the queen, then he's losing the rook on b7, so therefore he resigned. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this example, and on to the next one. Now I couldn't find any game examples of Diamino's mate, but this is a mate where, well, just imagine that if white's queen was on h7, it would be mate here, because that pawn on g6 is like cutting the king off and everything. But there is a forced mate in 5 moves here, and if you want to try and spot it, please stop the video now. Well, we have to get the queen to h7, so therefore we have to eliminate these rooks, and we can do them all via checks. So rook h8 check, takes, check, and then check again. And now the queen is coming in, now those 2 rooks have gone, and it is therefore mate. This mate also shows the power of a pawn on the 6th rank. I think it's worth almost a piece. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this example, and on to the next one. This is a famous game, Louise Paulson versus Paul Morphy, and it shows an example of Morphy's mate where basically a queen sacrifices itself for a minor piece or something, opens the king up, and then like a rook and bishop combine to mate. It's really good. So we'll just skip through the first few moves. Morphy was black. Now here, knight takes c5 supposedly supposed to give white an advantage, but he doesn't play it. Now plays it at the wrong moment. And here he makes a very bad move with c3. I mean, every pawn move creates a weakness, and now black's queen just occupies that hole. And now white can't really develop his queen side that well. Now he's threatening queen takes f1 followed by rook e1 mate. The queen has to go back to d1, although black stands better. But after queen a6, now comes a stunning move. If you want to try and spot it, please stop the video now. Queen takes f3. This basically leads to a forced mate, or almost does, or decisive advantage. After g takes f3, now you see the rook can come in. And now these breaking bishops after bishop h3 are just killing. Now rook d1 was played, and after bishop g2 check, king g1, bishop takes f3, king f1, bishop g2 check was played. There was a quicker win with rook g2. If queen takes b6, trying to give back material, then rook takes h2, and there is no way to stop rook h1 mate. So if queen d3, trying to rush the queen back to the defence, then there is rook takes f2 check, king g1 check, and mate. And look how active these 2 rooks and 2 bishops are, and white's king is just a sitting duck. This was the quick win. The game continuation, however, is also good, just takes longer. Bishop g2 check, king g1, bishop h3, and now bishop takes f2. And with the 2 rooks and 2 bishops around white's king and bishop g2 mate being threatened, white has to give the material back, but he can practically resign this because not only is he 2 pawns behind, but his bishop's out of play, and his king's still getting engulfed after rook e2, rook a1 and rook h6. And now d4 was played, which is the final blunder, allowing just bishop e3. And there is no way to stop a rook takes h2, mate. Say if the bishop's taken, then rook takes h2, and mate. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this example, a famous game this. And let's go on to the next one. Or the final one in this series. I mean, not series, part of series. This is an example of how a mate with heavy pieces occurs. It is Morphy as white against an amateur. And this shows the power of a queen and rook. So e4, e5. We've got we've got the max range attack, and now he plays knight g5, Morphy, which isn't very good. And after d5, e takes d5. If black could have played knight e5 here, it'd have been better already, but instead he blunders with knight takes d5, and after castles, now there is an immediate threat of knight takes f7 followed by queen f3 check. After bishop e7, now comes knight takes f7, king takes f7, and queen f3 check, and black should just retreat his king, and then he's not lost material, but his king is open and subjected to a scorching attack, but it's not game over. But after he tries to keep the extra piece with king e6, now Morphy sacks another piece with knight c3. And after d takes c3, rook e1 check, knight e5, bishop f4. Black's 2 knights up, but look at all his pressure and pins exerted on him. There's just like nothing he can do. Bishop f6, takes, now another brilliant move, and the third sacrifice of the game. Rook takes e5 check, and now the queen and rook and bishop are going to combine for mate, but the main theme is the power of the queen and rook, and the chapter's called Mate with Heavy Pieces. King takes e5, rook e1 check, king d4, the king is just being marched forward to its death, and now bishop takes d5, and black is completely defenseless here, everything like allows mate. The game continuation was rook e8, and now queen d3 check, king c5, and b4 check. If king d6, then bishop f3 discovered mate. If king b6, then check, and mate. So king takes b4 was played, and now queen d4 check, king a5, queen takes c3, king a4 check, and now the queen and rook mate with the bishop cutting the squares on the c line off. So what a brilliant finish by Morphy. And let's go back to the position after rook e8. If c takes b2, then we have a different mate with rook e4 check, and this also shows the power, because the idea is that white wants to force black to capture the bishop, and then the queen and rook can just deliver mate by like zigzagging the way down, like a seesaw checkmate. So if the bishop's taken, we have this. You see this like seesaw mate, which you like get a lot in games between beginners. You know, like beginners like never resigning, and then you like be a rook up, and then you're like queen and pawn, and then you'll just mate him with queen and rook like that with nothing on board. Well, it's just like that, except black's got half his army. Black's like half an army up, but it's the same theme. So king c5, and now queen a3 check, basically forcing him to take it, and now we just have this seesawing pattern, and the king's just driven to its death on the open board, and this is no less impressive than the game finish. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed part 3 of this Checkmate series. The final part is coming later. I hope you've learnt something. Please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.